Hello, Satnam, gorgeous souls. Hope you're having a beautiful day today. We are in lesson 2 of the 44 lessons for the Soul Rebel series to shift you into a new perspective to follow your soul's calling. And today is really focused on the do not compare yourself. You cannot compare yourself, your gifts, your journey, your voice, your past, your future, your present, the way you look, the way that you experience life, all of the experiences that you've had in your life, you cannot compare to anyone else, or you take away from living in the present moment of being in your power. And I can tell you that as a past comparison queen, this probably is one of the biggest lessons that held me back for so many years. And it showed up in all different ways of not just in my soul calling, but in my life. And so from the time I was younger, I always compared myself to other girls, right? I had this issue with body image and body dysmorphia. And so I was always looking at these other bodies and media and comparing and looking at how I wasn't enough, or I wasn't valuable or worthy based on these old ideas and programs. And what happens is when we start with those and then we start letting them kind of spill over into other areas of our lives, we see when we start to wake up that they're not true, right? They're typical stories, they're programming, and they're also those shoulds that I talk about that hold us back, where it's like, well, I should be this successful by this point in my life, or I should have this by now, or I should have done that, or I should have accomplished this, or this person does this way, so I should be doing it that way. And I kind of talked about this a little bit yesterday, but the truth is, when we go into this comparison mode, and whether it's one of the main ways I see this as well is comparing to what has happened in the past, and therefore automatically stopping yourself from moving forward because you instantly look at what didn't work out before, and in that moment you're comparing to something from the past. But the truth is, you're not who you were even yesterday. And so when we cannot let ourselves go from that comparisonitis, is what I refer to it as, and I'm sure you've heard it before, then you cannot move forward. And so when you allow yourself to sink into the knowing at a soul level, right, from the deep heart knowing within that what you are doing in your life is meant for you, who you are aspiring to become is who you're meant to be, what you see for yourself and your vision for your future is meant to be yours, and not look outside of yourself of what hasn't worked yet, or what someone else has or hasn't done, the way that somebody does things, the way that people price their things, the way that their relationships are, the way their body is, the life they've created. It's all not yours. And so it doesn't freaking matter, right? So when you compare, again, you're taking the power out of the present moment that is calling you at a soul level, and you're putting it into all these other ideas and stories. So you cannot compare if you really want to truly pursue your purpose and follow your soul's calling to fulfillment. Hello, Rita, how are you? So what I want to tell you to move forward from this, if this is one of those things that you struggle with, and so many women do, I know this for a fact, because I work with women and I've worked with clients now for almost 15 years. And there's always this old idea or story or programming that comes up about, but I should have, or but I should be, or I should say, or I should do. Okay, so everything that when you hear that statement, like, oh, I should have what she has, or I should look like she looks, or I should be doing this, you stop that statement. Now I have a training out right now, the Shed the Should to Fully Claim Your Calling. I'll put a link actually below. But the power in this is that when you stop that and you start to interrupt that immediate idea of should, you start to reprogram and shift your perspective. And when you start noticing that your should is coming from comparison and say, wait a minute, that's right, I remember I'm not to be comparing, I'm to be staying in my own lane, focusing on what lights me up, feeling into what I want to share today, serving my soul at the highest level, being in service to those who are asking and dying and praying and needing and wanting me. That's what you focus on. So anytime that should statement comes up and you notice that you're comparing to, again, someone else or another time, or even sometimes it goes both ways, where it's almost comparison of inadequacy, right? I should be by, at this point by now, have this by now, be the successful by now, know what I'm doing by now. And sometimes it goes the other direction of comparing, like, well, I shouldn't actually want this for myself. Like, who am I to want this when so-and-so is okay with that? Or when I, feel like I should be okay with accepting this or settling for that. So think about this in both ways. Sorry, I think somebody's getting ice in my kitchen. It's both ways. It's the comparing of inadequacies and the comparing of the, ooh, that's probably too much, or I'm too much. And when, again, as this old way of programming comes up and we start looking at it and shifting perspective and watching this paradigm crumble that isn't working for us, again, that's that old way, the patriarchal way of that competition and that, stripping of ideas and resources and putting women in a box and all these old ways that don't work anymore. And we start saying, you know what, this new way is following my soul, listening to my heart, being guided by my purpose, and then forgetting these ideas of being inadequate or being too much, because those are all old programs too, and stories of should that will never serve you. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. Every day I'll be sharing one of these lessons that I have learned over the last 44 years as I move into my 44th birthday that have helped me get out of when I'm holding myself back to fully pursue my purpose and create the heaven on earth that I have now. And I want you to do the same. So if you have any questions about anything, yes, Rita, ban the should and comparisons. It's like, why hold them? It doesn't do us any good. It takes away from living fully. And each day as I share this, I'll bring this up. When we are giving ourselves permission to stop the shoulding and the comparisons and the holding ourselves back, we are being this beautiful light for other women as their permission slip to say, hey, you know what, if she can do this, and again, without comparing, but really looking at if she can stand up for what she can and say what she wants to and be who she is, then I can do the same. And so when we allow ourselves to fully pursue with a connection to our spiritual self, with a connection to our heart and our soul, and with that connection of the service and the value that we're bringing to this planet with our service, then we can do no wrong, right? It's like really allowing yourself to move forward from that place of inner knowing and trust and acceptance, and looking at nothing else other than your path and knowing that it's so meant for you. All right. So if you have issues around this, comparing and going backwards and into the falling, what I call kind of into the fear mode or the ego based of, yeah, but I should actually be here. I should know what I'm doing by now, or I should have this, or, whatever your shoulds are, book in for a call and we'll go through a soul alignment assessment and get down to the root of where it's coming from so you can shift it immediately and have a way to move forward that's inspirational and that feels purposeful and gives you that sense of inner peace, okay? So sending you so much love today, and I cannot wait to share more with you tomorrow. Sat Nam.